Folks, hello and welcome to the Talking Crick live stream. I get totally wrong when I go to Poconos, my head explode, and I don't know. What can I tell you? I'm high on life. No alcohol yet. I'm working on it. With me, as always, on Wednesday night is none other than Bad Mike Battleato.
No
Michael!
alcohol here. No alcohol either. And I just remembered I don't have any alcohol up here. Oh, geez. I'll have to do
I
this show sober, completely
I
sober.
know. I have
Oh
unsweetened
boy.
iced tea. It's not Long Island iced tea. It is actually here. I'm going to prove that it's not alcohol.
I've got
It's
water. Just
Walmart
like
iced
water.
tea. I got unsweetened Walmart iced tea.
All I've got's water. I'm still hydrating. I'm hydrating from a weekend in Longview at Long Con when
Ah,
much whiskey was drank, and I really didn't do too good about mixing it up, and I had a lot of Diet Coke and whiskey, and so I probably need to be drinking some water tonight. I think I'll just stick with water. I'll stick with water tonight.
I'll have my wine after the cast when I get
Mm,
my snacks together.
yeah, I don't know what I'm. Yeah, I guess I'll just stay with water. God, it's so weird just to be drinking water, man. That's so
Gosh,
wild. So yeah, we have a non-special guest show, which and of course our usual show prep went along about how you think it would, which we didn't talk about anything we might do on the show, and like so we're just gonna let this happen. We're just gonna sit back and see what happens here. And actually, I was thinking I've got a few questions I want to ask Eric during the show because I don't know where I
what?
was last week, but apparently I missed all these stories and I missed all these things, and so I come back and I see all these videos he posted. I'm like, what, huh? What's all this stuff?
If I can talk about it, I'll talk about it. If I can't talk about it,
Yeah, I don't know what it is. So,
I'll tap dance around the issues and say maybe, sort of, kind of.
so I need to find out why these topics are important or interesting, and there's some that I think are important and interesting, and so
Uh,
the other ones I'm like I didn't hear about this happening. There's lots of interesting legal developments we can't really talk about too much because
Well,
you
some we
know
can,
a little
because
bit.
some don't directly have anything to do with me anymore.
Well, actually, the big one doesn't directly have anything to do with you. Matter of fact, that has directly a lot more to do with Watsy and what's happening.
Yes,
So
this
that's
this
gonna and that's
weekend, stupid, co-starring Watsy.
it's going to be very interesting because yeah, things aren't looking good for our buddy in North Carolina. Just not looking good. So yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit. But not that I say that. I'm just saying that's what the legal picture is. I'm painted right now. But maybe Eric can explain it a little more too. But
Enemies
anyway,
to the left of me, enemies to the right of me. What's
I
it? Then the I don't know. You walk into the valley of death or something like that. I forget how it goes. Something like that. I pledge allegiance to. So
so hello. By the way, hello, Bob, Gunn, David, Greg, Don. Oh my gosh, look at us! It's a rogues gallery of fools here that have already joined us. So
you got the King of Fools already on your screen here
yes,
talking to you.
yeah, it looks like, and you're in the Poconos. I can tell by that
Yeah.
door behind you.
Well, that and
You're.
you can tell from like the hue, like
Oh
my
my
hair up
god.
here, the dry heat in this fucking house. I take a shower. I towel dry off. I brush my teeth. My hair is dry already, and it's dry. Right in the background. You gotta put conditioner. All
Yeah, you gotta throw some conditioner on that rug you're wearing up there. That's crazy up there.
right. Yeah. No.
Um,
Yeah.
well, anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about Long Con. I went to Long Con this weekend. Mr. Greg Gillespie, who's in our chat, joined me there with some other gaming luminaries: Bill Barsh, Zach Glazer, Skeeter Green, Dave Beatty from Weird Frontiers. I think Brendan LaSalle was there. I didn't.
Really?
Yeah, he was there. I never talked to him. He was there. I mean, there was for a small little con of under 300 people. They did pretty well. They I did not go last year. I went the year before. They switched hotels. Hotel was very nice. It's about
Oh, nice.
2.5 hours east of Dallas, Longview, Texas, a little East Texas town. Um, just went. I actually played in a couple of games. I was in a game of a Dragon Slayer game, although it really could have been any game because it was a zero level funnel run by Greg Gillespie. It was based on the old. Do you remember that? Do you remember N4 Treasure Hunt, the old
I
TSR
love
module?
Treasure Hunt. Yes, it
We did,
introduced zero level play.
and Greg loved it, and I've run it before, but I haven't run it in 30 years. So we,
No,
we did that. We ran through that, and we had a blast. That was fun. Yes, that was really. It worked out really, really well. It's fun playing characters that only have 4 hit points that don't have any armor and no skills because you have to be really careful and you're thinking about ways to do things without combat. You're like, okay, well, how can we ambush these things or how can we sneak? Everything we did was sneaking past something. We were sneaking because we
right.
didn't want to fight anything. And one of the guys we were with, he got a little jiggy with it. And he ended up dying twice because he kept getting in these combats and kept unnecessarily doing things that you weren't supposed to do. And the rest of us were sneaky. And so we got through the whole thing. It was a blast. That was fun. That was a nostalgia moment because I had run that module like in 1988 or 89 probably. And I don't think I'd even read it since then. Maybe I ran it in the 90s. I don't remember. But that was a fun module. It was only one of its kind. It was a 0 level AD&D module written by Aaron Alston, if I remember correctly, and it was a different concept because they didn't do that. They didn't do zero. I mean, 0 level wasn't really ever dealt with a lot, even though it was something that was talked about with TSR. It was never something they really did anything with. And
No,
so,
well,
yeah, it was.
you had zero level Cavaliers. That was the first
Yeah,
time you saw it with an Unearthed Arcana, and it's like, oh, you're a squire, and you got like D4 hit points. And then the argument became, do I get my Constitution bonus for both of those 2D for all those D4s? When I go from -1 level to 0 level to
I,
first level to
I never
D20?
played a Cavalier. That the Cavalier, some of those Unearthed Arcana classes were just too out there. That the Cavalier, I just didn't see a point in the Cavalier. So I don't think we ever played it. We tried to play the Barbarian, but it's so unlike every other core class. It doesn't really make any sense.
Well,
Um, you know,
Unearthed Arcana Barbarian, you have to either have exceptionally good scores in Dex and Con, or else the class is worthless. If you're not doubling your bonuses, the class becomes
yeah,
pointless. It's
but
6,000 experience points for second level.
it,
You got
you
experience
know,
points by destroying the party's magic
destroying
item.
magic, yeah, by destroying magic items, which most parties are not going to dig that. And so I did play when Arthur came out. We did have a guy play the Barbarian, played it very well, and they would give him items. So we had to think of a rationale. Why would a Barbarian be in a party with a mage? And we figured out some kind of rationale, and then they would give him magic items they didn't need to destroy. They would, and so he it was just real. It's just one of those classes that it's been made better since then. I've seen better
Right.
versions of it. I've seen simpler versions of it. But yeah, it was just. I mean, it goes to the whole question of was Unearthed Arcana just a money grab, which it was in some ways because they were trying to save the company when they came out with it. I mean, I like this Unearthed Arcana. I love the spell. The new spells were great because they needed to do spells at that point. I thought cantrips were really interesting. I've never seen them used really well in a campaign. Even I've tried to use them and I've not done a good job. And there was some stuff in there that was interesting, but the character classes they remind me of the monk. The monk, I never like the monk because he doesn't fit in with the other classes. He's just kind of like over here, and because he's got like 15 special abilities, and everybody else doesn't have that much stuff. And the barbarian's kind of the same way. He's got like 15 special things about him that you got to keep track of, and it's just over the top stuff. It's like you're trying to make this guy into Conan, but to make him into Conan, you got to do all these different things that break the simulation. Not like unlike most characters, he's got like 15 different things he can do.
Well, Unearthed Arcana broke the Paladin because it pushed the Paladin into Cavalier.
Yeah.
It really broke the class. I was a big fan of the Paladin back in the day.
So I did that, and I also played Crassus Maximus. Actually, I was an unpaid advisor for Gary's wife, who by the end of it was having gleeful happiness destroying Bill Barsh's driver, just ramming his chariot to the side. I mean, first of all, she was like, I just want to do this and get through with it. And by the end, she's like, kill him, and just ramming Bill Barsh and destroying him. It was great.
And these games, like they really, they start out.
I can't hear you.
My mic's not working.
Everybody hear Eric? Just me.
All right, hold on. Is my mic not? I'm checking.
Can you hear
my
me?
Mic?
Eric?
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, you can.
My mic is telling me that it's working.
I'll continue talking.
Somebody out there, tell me you can hear me.
I need to switch my headphones.
All right, Don, look down there. Don says he can hear me fine, so it's your end. It's you, Michael. They can all hear me fine.
Yeah, it's my headphones. They're doing the weird switch in and out bullshit that they pull sometimes. I don't know why they'll do that sometimes. Like they unhook, they have to reboot, and I don't understand it. So no, anyway, so yeah, so I did that, but it was a fun. It wasn't a giant hotel. It reminded me a lot of the Marriott where you used to have North Texas, and it was about the same size as the old Marriott.
Okay,
probably about under 300 people. The vendor hall was pretty good. There was probably about 15, 16 vendors, and there was a lot of trading going on. People were trading stuff. I traded a bunch of stuff. I had a bunch of Citadel miniatures I traded to Greg and to Ty, and what else? I mean, we just had a blast. A lot of drinking. It was an old fashioned Holiday Inn, so they had a bar, and they had a full service bar and a I'll tell you what's so cool about it. They had a bar and a place to eat there. There was two really good barbecue places nearby. One was exceptional, great stuff. I had bacon wrapped jalapeno or brisket stuffed jalapeno. Oh my God, those were good. And ribs and brisket and homemade mashed potatoes, and I mean all the sides were incredible. I mean it was just so the food was exceptional. I thumbs up, A+ on the food. I'll tell you what was cool, because you're not in a big city. So I went to Gamehole Con last month, and everything in Madison was really pricey. The place at the Sheraton was pricey. Everything. So we had a hotel room at the Sheraton. No microwave, which is weird in this day and age. Usually you get a mini fridge and a microwave.
Right.
Everything was extremely expensive there. Like you would go downstairs like, oh, I'd like to get a Diet Coke or something. They're like $6, $8. Like, good Lord. And so you just buy everything at Walmart. So I go downstairs to the little concierge knowing I'm going to get molested. And I said, how much is a Diet Coke? $2. Whoa!
Back it up. Was it a 20 ounce
back bottle? It up. It was a regular size bottle, and I noticed. I
thought it cost at the bodegas here. It's $2.
And not only that, everything was very reasonably priced at the hotel, and then the whole area, because you're in Longview, Texas. You're not in a big city. It was great. I'd forgotten how much fun it is to go just to a regular smaller con in a small city, because nothing was jacked up in price. Everything was very reasonably priced. Every place we ate, all the places we went to, everything was just nice and reasonable. And and as much as I love Gamehole, which I do, everything in that city is jacked up priced, because it's the capital. It's the capital. Plus, you got the convention going on, so all the food's pricey, all the drinks, everything's really priced up. So I was really, really happy at that, and then we got to see, all our buddies. Greg Gillespie was there, Bill Barr, Zach Glazer, Skeeter Green. Ty was there. Ty played in Greg's game with me. We played two wisecracking idiots that were just commenting on every.
Really like pushing the envelope at all. You just.
I was trying not to meta. I tried not to meta the game, but it was just, we had a blast, man. That game was fun. I forgot how much fun it is to play. Because I don't play that much anymore. I'm kind of the forever DM of my group, and so sometimes it's really fun to play. And so and plus Greg's just a great DM, so it was that made it really fun. I got to see Dragon Slayer because he brought a copy of Dragon Slayer. I read through it. I'm very excited for it, and I don't know quite how to put this, but any accusations that it's a copy of another game are 100% wrong. I read all the rules. It is its own game. It is a retro clone of BX / first edition with a lot of really cool things that Greg had. Greg put some really cool stuff in there that I think is way overdue and get like he has this one section. All it is questions that people who don't know much about the game could ask, and it's just really good because more games need stuff like that. Need like he has one whole section. What does a magic user do when he throws his first one spell and he only has one spell? There's a whole page written on there. Here's what a magic user can do. All kinds of stuff. He can hold the torch. He can throw daggers. He can. It goes into all the different things because you always get told, well, I don't want to play a magic user because once I throw my spell, I'm useless. No, you're not. Lots of stuff you can do. So that was really cool.
Okay.
I like that. It was called Magic User 101, which I thought was a really interesting little section. And he has little sections like that all through there. He covers pretty much every character class that's covered in 1E, including the assassin, by the way, which I've never been a big fan of.
But now, Mike, let me just get this straight. So what you're saying is that you've actually looked at Dragon Slayer, you perused it, you read the rules, and you're saying it's not the clone of another game that may have come prior in the OSR, where a person who has never seen Dragon Slayer insists that sight unseen Dragon Slayer is a ripoff. I'm just trying to make sure.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm embarrassed for that person, and that person owes Greg an apology. I've read the rule. The rules I've seen bear zero resemblance to anything that other game, and I'm embarrassed for that person. And like I said, they look, their reputation's the toilet anyway. They're not coming out with another edition of their game ever. They're just gonna bitch and moan and cry that about this, and they're never going to improve their own game, which they could easily do.
But they're never going to hear our words because they have us blocked on social media.
That's all right. I mean,
with like half the OSR.
I have a feeling you'll get around. Yeah, I have a feeling you'll get around to it. But it's there's no comparison. It's just silly. It's the same as that. Look, every one of these retro clones draws from the same well of knowledge that came before Swords and Wizardry, basic fantasy role playing. I mean, I don't know, name a few more. I mean, they all draw from the same. Here's your character classes, here's your 6 abilities. So on this, they're all coming from the same root thing, and it's just how they branch off in different directions that makes each game what it is. And so every game has its own, just different taste to it, right? And that's why so many retro clones can exist, because there's one for every person that wants. I want mine to be more like this, and I want like for instance, you want to play Hyperborea because I think I don't want to be an elf or a dwarf or actually I'm a human. I'm a human. I'm in Conan's world where all the elves and dwarves, they're fairy weird creatures that are just really creepy, and I just want to play a human, whatever, a human barbarian that's going to kick some butt. I mean, they all have their different flavor, right? and that's kind of how this is too. It's just its own take on the the original BX basic BCMI AD&D rules, and with a lot of things Greg threw in there. There's a whole section where he wrote new spells. There's a bunch of new monsters. His takes on the character classes are really individualistic. He actually even has carousing rules in the back, which is awesome.
Nice.
Because I like carousing. We use it in my game now. All my players love it. Yeah, it's just it's silly this was ever even mentioned by anybody. It's just like I said, it's embarrassing that they, because I've seen it. Everybody at the convention, or everybody that wanted to, got a chance to look at it during the convention, and nobody even blinked an eye that thought, oh my God, this is an exact copy of fill in the blank. It's not even close. So, but yeah, I think it's going to do really well. It's going to fill that spot that other game was once in, that now, since it hasn't been updated in a decade, nobody cares about anymore. It's going to fill that spot, and people are going to, I think a lot of people, I think it's going to catch on slowly, kind of like how Greg's stuff did, like Barrel Maze. We are a decade out of Barrel Maze, and now it's regarded as one of the best, OSR dungeons that, has been made in the last 10, 20 years. But It took a while. It took a while to build. I mean, it was just there for a while, and people played it, and it got good reviews, and people knew about it. But it just kind of built and built and built. And now everybody just talks about Barrel Maze. They just, and the same thing with, I think, Dragon Slayer. Dragon Slayer is going to come out, and people are going to use it as their set of rules, and slowly it's going to start, winding its way into consciousness. Like, oh, what OSR rule system do you play? I play Dragon Slayer. Okay, everybody's going to know what you mean. Okay, oh, he plays that,
right?
And so yeah, if you're going to play one of the mega dungeons, if you're going to play Barrel Maze or Lost Caverns, Archaea or Highfell or Doro Deep, you're going to pop out. I mean, Dragon Slayer is going to be a good set of rules. Now, my group, we use 2E. I don't know if we're going to switch over to Dragon Slayer or not. I mean, I'll consider it. I'll look at it, definitely, but we'll probably stay with 2E since we're already zipping along pretty good with that. But that it's just, like I said, it's just I'm embarrassed for that person, because it's they obviously didn't know what they were talking about, and everybody that had seen the rules knew it was nothing like the other rule system. So we played that, and then there was a lot of systems run there that I wish I'd gotten. I mean, a few people ran Aliens. There was a bunch of Aliens games going on. There was somebody ran a Terminator game. Somebody ran a Blade Runner game, which I didn't even know that was an RPG, but there is.
Oh yeah, there's a recent RPG.
There was a whole bunch of weird. David Beatty was there, so Weird Frontiers. There was several sessions of Weird Frontiers run, which is a pretty cool, underrated, DCC Weird Western game. Of course, a lot of DCC games. Just a fun little con, man. I tell you, a lot of people came in from out of town this year because we talked it up. And I don't think any of them were disappointed. I think everybody that came to the con was very, very, had a very enjoyable time. And so I highly recommend it. I don't, of all the cons I went to this year, it was by far the most laid back and just outright, we had just a blast.
Well, that's what cons are supposed to be. So
yeah, and it's just a small, it's a small venue. It's a small hotel. You can walk from one end to the other. As much as I like, once again, as much as I love Game Hole, there is a lot of walking involved because you're in a convention center. So you are. I mean, oh, I forgot something back. Oh no, back at the car. Oh dear. That's half a mile.
I don't want to walk it.
It's half a mile away. Oh boy. The only issue I had was driving there. It rained. It was like a monsoon rain on a Thursday afternoon, which sucked because it was bad rain. But other than that, no, there was we had a blast, and you would have known. I think I was telling you, Eric. Half the people there were NTRPG Con veterans.
Oh, so it would have been like
at least half the people. At least half the people were NTRPG Con dudes, and so yes, that was a plus too, because you kept seeing these people you knew. Right and left. And they kept, oh, hey man, what's up, Bad Mike? I know this guy, I know these guys, so, every day you're just saying hi to people right and left, because they're just popping in. And then of course, then everybody had a big bottle of whiskey hidden somewhere. that they pull out after when the bar closed at 10, and then it was time for everybody to pull out their bottles of whiskey, and that was fun. And they're officially no drinking here, there, and over this place, and then unofficially everybody was filling their cups up.
Right.
And just throwing a little Diet Coke in there, to make it look good, and
be polite about it. By the way, Mr. Gunn has an interesting question. He came across a couple of folks who were cheating at cons of all places for no prize money, no bragging rights. You know what? There are people who feel they always need to win. Doesn't matter if it's a home game, a con game. And if they're cheating at a con, they're cheating at the home game.
It's embarrassing because I think people think they're slicker than they are. I went to a con once, and we were playing gladiator battles, and a guy was cheating in the gladiator battle by rolling the dice over by him, and then this guy is hitting every time. And we were fighting like some wild animals, like I think it was us versus a bunch of tigers or something. And this guy was just kicking ass. And I just happened to look over there, and he was calling out numbers he wasn't rolling. And like you said, I'm like, why? Yeah. Why would you do it? And I felt embarrassed for him once again because I didn't want to call him out,
Right.
And he was having a really good time. He was having a great time, but then he just kept hitting everything. He wasn't even subtle about it, like would miss every once in a while. Every hit he did was the maximum. He's rolling 18s, rolling. And it just, and then it became the him show because nobody else could. I mean, he was only the one hitting everything, killing everything. And I just felt bad for him, and it was embarrassing. And, afterwards I told my brother, I was like, yeah, this guy over here was calling out numbers he wasn't rolling. I started watching him. He's like, dang it, I thought he was rolling too good to be believable. Well, it was. It was. I just don't understand why you're going to ruin your enjoyment like that of the weekend, because believe me, no matter how slick you think you are, somebody there is going to spot it, because we're all gamers, right?
Yeah.
We know when things are off or don't seem right, or things are just weird, and you just know that, And yeah, I think that's sad when people do that, because most of the time some of the games I've had where everybody dies are just as fun as the ones where everybody triumphs, right? I mean, you don't have to succeed, to actually have a good time. Sometimes failure is hilarious, and it's you have a great time failing.
What was what game did you like the best this past weekend at the con?
Did I like the best?
Yep.
Well, I only played in 2, but I think I think I'd like to try Weird Frontiers. I saw so many times walking past the table, and I heard people talking about their games. Their games sounded really fun. And it sounded really, and plus you got the creator David running the game. I mean, so he's going to make it really good. And I just thought, you know what, that's one I might try, because look, DCC, I don't play it, but I think it's a great con game. I think it's a great one-shot game. I bet Weird Frontiers is great as a con game.
Oh, Ian ran a Weird Frontiers at a ShireCon. Ian McGotney, and it was a fucking blast. It was really, really good.
I'll tell you what's funny, for a while, everybody was really – remember how much pub Morkborg was getting? Morkborg?
Yep, Morkborg.
It seemed like it was really hot for a while. I don't see anybody running it anymore. It seemed like everybody was running it for a short period of time. And I remember watching people run it, and I was like, I'm not really interested in this. I mean, I understood – I knew what the draw was. I understood what the draw was, and it looked like people were having fun. But I had a feeling at the time, Eric, that there was not a long tail in that game, because it's kind of it's almost like a one and done, because you're playing at the end of the world. It's an apocalyptic game where everything's ending and there's no reason to be alive and everybody's dying. And I just had a feeling that we just didn't have a long tail on it. And so I don't know, maybe my experience is different, but I just don't see a lot of Merkberg, playing going on or love going on for that. But some of the stuff, like I said, Weird Frontiers, that sounded kind of fun. And so I would do that. I would definitely do a Weird Frontiers game if I had a chance.
Do they make loaded RPG dice?
Yes, I've seen them. I've seen 2 different kinds. I've seen actual loaded dice to where when you roll them, The weighting's off on them. I actually have a set of them. I didn't know what they were at first, and I started rolling them. I noticed I never rolled ones or twos. It just was always. I'm like, and I go, these feel weird. And I gave this one. They said, oh yeah, these are loaded. And I got them when I bought somebody's collections. They had a set of loaded dice, and you could tell once you held them. And then I've seen other ones. So they do this real subtly. They take out either the 1 or the 2, and they put an extra 6 on there. Or to make it less obvious, they'll put like an extra 3 on there or 4. They just make it so that, or the 20-sided die, they have 2 20s, or instead of a 1, they'll have like another 15 or something, because you don't want to be rolling 20 twice as much as everything else, but you can't roll a 1 with it.
Right.
So I've seen those, and they make those and sell them. And what sucks about those is, if you're at a con game or something, you're not going to ask to see somebody's dice. That's you're never going to say, oh, hey, you're rolling really good. I want to see your dice. Because sometimes people get on. We had a guy with Ty and I were playing Greg's game. There was a guy there that found a crossbow, and he had the highest dexterity, so we gave him the crossbow. He was nailing everything, 20s, 19, and we're watching him roll. And this guy is just like hitting everything. And so, but I mean, nobody asks to see his dice. Like, oh, hold on, you're a 0 level character. You're just hitting everything. That doesn't make any sense. No. I mean, he was legit rolling these high numbers. And so, yeah, that kind of sucks. Once again, if you're using loaded dice, you're just ruining your own enjoyment.
Yeah, pretty much. Mr. Gunn, the other bad behavior I came across was a dude who took something I said personally. I was kidding. Oh, so he said something in character, but they took it personal. And they tried to PvP me in game, and he was our age.
So I was running a game once, and a guy tried to pull this, and I shut it down real quick, where basically a guy was playing with 2 guys were like playing. They kind of got a little conflict in game. They didn't really like each other. And one guy, this is not meta. This guy, he goes, I'm going to do this. This guy, and the guy got killed because he did it, and everybody at the table knew it. And we were all kind of laughing about it. Like, he basically listened to the door, and he goes, I said, okay, you hear this? Okay, I'm not going to tell the fighter I hear anything. Well, the fighter doesn't know. He kicks in the door. There's 6 orcs in there. They fill him full of crossbow. He's dead, right? So they kind of had a mini conflict going on during the game. So immediately the guy who dies, he goes, well, I'm coming back to life, and I'm going to kill your guy. I'm like, oh, hold on. You cannot use in-game knowledge for your next character. You can't do that. Right. You can't have a grudge. Well, I'll just have a grudge for some reason. He's an elf. I hate elves. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to allow this, because this game is about everybody else at the table having fun, not about your 2 little pissing contests here. I mean, I put it a different way, but that's what it boiled down to. Is look, I'm not going to let you take retribution in game for something happened to your other character who's dead, and just because you personally know what happened, I'm not going to let your character suddenly, okay, well, he got my first character with the orc. I'm going to accidentally shove him down the stairs. No, we're not doing that shit. And so I let them both know, kind of like, hey, we're adults here. Everybody else has to play. We're not going to do this. And to their credit, they both kind of laid off after that. I think the first guy felt guilty after that, too, because he got the guy killed.
Successful. He didn't think it'd be that successful.
Yeah, he didn't think that, work like that. But yeah, I think that's kind of, once again, I feel embarrassed for people like that, because all you're doing is having a pissing contest in public, and everybody gets to see it, and people just come there to game. They're just coming there to play. They're not coming there to see you have a conflict with somebody. And that's the same with anybody that goes to convention that tries to take over a game. Because I've had people. I had a guy that was drunk once at my B1 game, and he tried to take over the game by splitting the party. And then he split it once, and he split it again. Because he's like, okay, I want to go this way, and everybody wants to go that way. So he took like 3 guys with him. And then when they got a different part of the dungeon, he wanted to split again. Well, we're going to go this way. Well, I'm going to go this way by myself. Well, then he gets killed the next room. I'm like, okay, good. Thank goodness that worked out. And then and then he elected to go to bed at that point, because like, yeah, I'm tired, I'm drunk, and I want to go to bed. I'm like, okay, good. I didn't ask him to roll. I was like, no, man, stay and roll up another character. It's like, okay, well, yeah, we'll see you later. Thanks. That was awesome. But he was trying to turn the game into his own little private whatever the hell it was. And so, I don't like those instances either. It's if you're doing look, if you're doing a campaign game, it's different, right? I mean, that you usually know who you're with, and the guys are, it's a different kind of affair. But if you're doing a con game, you need to realize that it's not about you. It's about everybody else there. You're only there for 4 or 5 hours, so don't slow the game down with your bullshit. Don't argue. Look, do not argue rules with the DM during a con game. Do not argue rules with the DM during a con game, because you have very short period of time. No one wants to hear about your pissy little, well, how come I didn't detect the trap? I don't give it. I don't care. Just keep it moving. Keep it moving. And I'm just the kind of DM that if you start arguing that stuff a lot, you're probably going to be dead in about 3 rooms. Believe me, it's just going to accidentally happen that the orcs are I'm going to roll randomly to see who the arrows hit. It's going to be you, because I don't want your bullshit in there.
Right.
And so don't be that guy, Don't be the guy that just
tries to DM aggro. You never want it.
Yeah, and don't ruin everybody else's fun. You're ruining everybody else's fun.
See, we could do a whole show on just unofficial advice on how to be a good con player.
I want to tell you something. Just need to tell them no thank you. I think that's true, but Don, I usually try to avoid that at cons because it's very awkward, because usually you're going to run into that guy again at the con, and sometimes it creates a conflict where you don't really want a conflict. I think it's much easier to deal with it in game, and like I said, I will honestly have no problem in killing your character by various means, and look, I've been DMing for 50 years now. I can make it look real good. Where you will not know I killed your character, because I'm rolling like, okay, 1 through 6, the arrows hit. Oh, they hit you. Oh, they hit you again. Oh my God, you got hit 3 times. I mean, I'll do it to where you don't know what happens, or okay, everybody give me a roll. If the guy's rolls low, okay, who's the lowest roll? Oh, it's you. Okay, you. Okay, what's the highest roll? You. Oh, I mean, you could do it a million ways without calling the guy out and embarrassing everybody. Now if somebody's being really. I know a few years ago, somebody said something very inappropriate to Rachel Marsh, and Tim Kask about blew a gasket at the table. And basically threw him off the table. Said, get kind of along the lines of get the F out of my game. And so that was cool, because what I understand, he basically something along the lines of, oh, I don't want to play with this little girl at the table, type of thing. And that's a no-no. Especially if it's Steve Marsh's daughter, that's a no-no.
Well,
but
a couple of years ago when we had James Spahn at the con, James had to cover me running Teagle Manor because I had to run the table, and I don't remember this guy's name, which is good because I'm not going to name him. But do you remember the guy at North Texas that used to travel everywhere with his luggage trunk?
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
Okay, so he was mouthing off as the game was getting ready to start. Basically bad-mouthing the design, all this. Listen, if you have opinions about something and it's going to ruin the enjoyment of everybody else, keep your shit to yourself.
And let me tell you, that guy used to bitch about everything too. That wasn't the first, and I'm sure not the last time he ever bitched about a game or DM.
He got kicked out of the game before it even started.
And then I remember that because James came up to me afterwards. He said, look, I have to tell you I did something. I want to know if it's okay. And he basically explained the whole situation to me. And I said, no problem. I know this guy. He's an a-hole. If you kicked him out, then, I mean, we both know James Spahn. The dude's a sweetheart. I mean, you really have to just do something ridiculous to get kicked out. And apparently he was just being an absolute ass at the table. And so, once again, if you're going to ruin everybody else's enjoyment, I'm going to get you off the table somehow. But James just took a more proactive approach and said,
it was great. I really – and then the guy came back to me to complain to me and about how it was going to hurt Frog God's business not having him as a customer. I was like, no. Honestly, I've heard before. I've heard this before. By the way, Greg, coming soon to YouTube. Bad advice.
Okay, let's do it. Let's crowdfund this. Sounds good. I need some extra money. Let's crowdfund. You know what, Eric? Let's think about an end of the year show where we do something like that. That would be fun. We'll have
Yeah.
to think of some kind of themed show where, like, ask Bad Mike and Tenkar, and we'll answer. We'll just have them answer a bunch of we'll answer a bunch of questions for people because we have all kinds of shitty advice that we can give people from the
All
last
right.
100 years of knowledge between
Ask
both of
me
us.
nearly anything will be
Oh, ask me anything. I will
and Mike can ask,
dish.
yeah.
I
Me
will
will be
dish.
nearly anything. You can already guess what's going to be verboten. And if I come out with the classic,
Yeah,
no comment,
no
you'll
comment.
understand.
No. But yeah. So yeah, that guy was a jerk, and I knew he was a jerk, and I was like James, no explanation necessary. And he was really, and to James's credit too, he was really upset about having to kick the guy out of the game because I don't think that's
Yeah.
the kind of person James is. He doesn't like to have to do that. But this guy apparently was very disruptive, loud, and was just bitching during the game about whatever, like the game design or the
game
guy
design.
who wrote. I mean, just something.
He was bitching about the map. He was bitching about the writing. He was bitching about the company, and it was just like, you know what?
Yeah,
nobody cares.
James didn't want to listen to that for 3 hours, and I don't blame him. So, and you know what, that guy, I don't think that guy ever came back to the con, which is awesome because worked out great for us too. Because we had a lot of comments, a lot of complaints about that guy that he did that at games, and a lot of people were very polite, wouldn't really call him on it and just kind of try to deal with it. And James is like, nah, you're gone. So I think that's good. Yeah, and one of the reasons I usually don't, I try not to, like my home game, my campaign game, I don't allow drinking at the table. Very moderate drinking. I've had games really, really messed up by people being drunk. I mean, it's just look, once again, people get drunk and then they start screwing the game up for everybody. It's not just them; it's everybody that they except the one time that Glenn was drunk in my B1 game, and it was actually hilarious. That was pretty funny. He was great. I'd never seen him drunk, and he was funny, and his dog kept getting killed, which is hilarious. So Balak, his dog Balak kept getting killed. So yeah, but most of the time, that's another problematic thing. People get drunk at the table and they just start, that they can't control it, and they just start getting out there, and I don't like a lot of heavy drinking at the table. It does not make for. I mean, some people just dig that, but they also like chaos because it usually creates a lot of chaos. Chaos that they will.
I like today. If I was not allowed drinking at the table because we're playing, I don't know, Paranoia or some game where
right,
you want your players loosey goosey.
Oh, sure.
But even when I was in college with my college guys, I had an official rule. If you want to drink, we drink after the game. I go, during the game, there is no drinking because you folks are hard enough to control and keep going in a proper direction when you're sober. I'm not dealing with a bunch of assholes that are drunk. You do this for enjoyment. You don't get paid for it. You don't need to be a bunch of drunk assholes. Gave him the DM's boot to the head. Basically.
Yeah, when we used to drink and play, I noticed that so little got done, because there was so many sidetracks.
Yep.
And so yeah, I had to include the. We've had drinking before. We just don't get too crazy about it now. But yeah, it used to be people get loaded and then you'd never get anything done, and then everybody afterwards like, I don't even remember what happened last session.
Mike has gotten his refreshments in order now.
More water. I'm so dehydrated.
Oh,
I was dehydrated this weekend. I drank a lot of whiskey and a lot of Diet Coke, which is not good for the kidneys. So I've been throwing some water down the last few days, trying to get my pH levels in order and all that jazz.
Okay, fair enough.
So what legal news do we have about one of our esteemed colleagues in the industry that came out?
Well, colleagues. How about this? There was an order that was I guess, endorsed by a judge in the bankruptcy court for new TSR, which essentially stated that, and I already knew this regarding to me, new TSR. I was originally a creditor, and he's like, "Yeah, no, we have no interest in you. Go away, son. You're bothering me. You're bothering me. Get out of here." So I was like, "All right, so I am no longer in a legal action with new TSR, which is great." Well, as of this order, WotC is no longer in a legal action with new TSR. They are still in a legal action with two other parties in the original lawsuit, but no longer TSR, which also means that the protective order is in effect, and the protective order is there to protect witnesses from harassment, intimidation, and other assorted shenanigans. So it shall be interesting to see how that plays out. It's going to be
So at this point, the company cannot declare bankruptcy, or the individual that owns the company.
Well, the company TSR is now owned essentially by a trustee. It is being run by a trustee that was appointed by the court, because the trustee's job is to get the most value for the creditors out of this entity. And so the trustee is the one that makes all the decisions now for TSR. Essentially, if you want to look at it this way, what's going on in the Gary Gygax estate? There's a trustee that has been assigned to the estate. Like there was a trustee assigned to this LLC, there's a trustee assigned to the estate. So there's been like an auction that kicked off over the weekend.
Oh yeah, another auction. I saw that, another big auction. Pay the estate fees. Yeah.
Yeah. The estate is in debt. So this trustee is looking to raise money not only to pay off the estate fees and bills, but also pay themselves. Stormberg is running the auction, so Stormberg will get paid. And then if there's money left over, I'm assuming it will be held for further debt to the estate. So the estate is assigned. But the fact that the estate is no longer solely in Gil Gygax's hands is very telling.
Interesting. Well, that is interesting. So yeah, that's in the Gygax thing, that's really interesting, because I think we're leaning more and more towards thinking that the Gygaxes may have prevailed in their lawsuit just by the way this thing is rolling along.
Well, yeah, and the trustee has he's licensed the Yugsburg. He's licensed, what's the other one that's going to be
the Hermit by and these are all items that Gail yanked and would not allow to be published the last decade. So the fact that they are being published now tells me a little bit, at least to me. I have an inkling about what's going on. So
there, Mr. Gunn, there are two different trustees we're talking about.
Yeah,
there's a trustee assigned to the new TSR that was assigned by the bankruptcy court, and there is a trustee assigned to the Gary Gygax estate in the state of Wisconsin to manage the IP and the physical product.
So real quick, this is brought about because the Gygax children sued Gail over who actually owns the IP, because they basically found a will that was not entered in a probate earlier. There was no will entered in the probate.
There was no will.
Yeah, and so everything immediately went to the wife at the time, who was Gail. Well, I think the Gygax children have been upset for a few years about how the estate's been being run, and this gave them an excuse to go in and say, "Yeah, well, we're going to assert what this will says is that we get an equal share. And so anyway, while this is going on, you have this estate that has to be run, and they're having these auctions now, because it was that the Gail was having these auctions every year or so, and she would pocket all the money. Well, now that they're not sure who's going to end up with the estate, she's not allowed to do that anymore. So the auctions are running now. The money goes into the estate funds, which I'm sure used to pay the estate lawyer, attorney off first, and to pay any outstanding funds, and then probably put in a fund or something, and that way whoever wins or prevails the lawsuit will probably end up getting the money. The one thing you got to, and I've seen this happen, the reason I know this, I've seen it happen, the one thing you got to hopefully doesn't happen is the estate doesn't get drained of all the money. But in the case of Gary, they still have his IP, which is worth quite a bit. So even if they sold every single item of his that was sitting in the basement, Gail's basement, they would still have the IP. So it's not a big, it's not as dire. It's a long story short, my stepbrothers got into a battle with their father's stripper girlfriend after he died, and the estate attorney drained the estate. At the time the trial was over, there was nothing left. Zero. They had to sell all the property just to pay the estate fees. So there was nobody won that one. Nobody got anything. My stepbrothers and then the stripper girlfriend, nobody got anything, because at that point there was nothing left. Everything got drained. So that isn't always an issue. There was no IP like there's this case. This case is always IP. So no matter what happens, you still have, Castle Zagig and all the stuff that he did for Legendary Adventures. Everything he did for Troll Lord Games basically is still out there. So yeah, that's going to be very interesting to see what happens in that case. And then, the other case is just having to do with what's a certain person going to have left by the time once he gets around to dropping that $400,000 judgment or whatever. I think I saw a number the other day.
No, it's more than that.
Yeah, more than that. I think they said they had spent over $400,000 just on lawyer fees. So that's just that. That's not damages. I mean, that's just, you owe me this much, This not good. Not good.
Somebody was asking about Ernie Gygax. Don says he talked with Ernie via PM today, and he seems to be doing well. Said he was playing some D&D and is in good spirits. I know Ernie's been home. He's been sharing on Facebook. Ernie's got challenges ahead of him. I really, really do. I wish him a lot of luck. He's in my prayers every night. But these are lifelong challenges he's going to have in front of him. If you want, here, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. If you ever see me at a convention and you want to know a little bit more of some of the stuff that's going on with the Gygax will and some of the potential history behind that really isn't primetime material, approach me at a con, buy me a light beer. I got to watch the Cubs, and I'll give you a story. That's all.
Yeah, it's a lot of this. We're not. I don't know, what would you call it? We don't care about ratings or clicks or whatever.
No,
we're not going to share. We're not going to share everything we know. I mean, there's some stuff we know that's pretty explosive that we couldn't even share in private, even in private.
Right. So I'm not telling you. Right, it's not going to be that stuff. No, it's just going to be some interesting stuff that I just don't think needs.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be out there necessarily. So this is a show for. This isn't here made to create controversy or like I said, we're not trying to get clicks here. I'm not going to pull my clothes off. I mean, I will if you want me to, but I'm not going to just do it.
If it's a charity, we might just have to do it.
Just for clicks. I'm not going to do it just for clicks. No.
Wait. No, dude, I'm told. I was told in the comments that I do things just for clicks.
All right, well, I'm gonna. I guess I'll just pull my clothes off. I'll just take my shirt off.
No.
I'm taking off my underwear because I wasn't wearing pants earlier. So. I'll back on. All back on.
I put shorts on only because it's cold up here, but I put shorts on.
It's getting chilly here too.
But I've had people say this in the past. By the way, oh, you only do certain things for clicks for the mad advertising money.
Whoa, those big bucks, yeah.
Yeah,
Pay for this kick-ass recording studio I have here.
Yeah,
you know,
hey,
and then these headphones that keep going out on me.
Yeah, here.
Oh,
Do you think I should do a quick share of how much revenue I've earned from this channel in the last month? Do you think it will shut people up?
I think they would. You know what? They won't believe you. The people who don't want to believe you already won't believe you anyway.
All right, but here, when I joke that Mike and I and my other co-hosts, we do this for the love of it. We're not doing this because we're making mad bucks on this. I do like to, when the money adds up. Mike obviously needs a new headset. That'll likely happen with the monies that we get
already.
Here. So here, folks.
I think this thing's about it is about 2 years old.
Yeah.
Whoa! Look at those big bucks, man.
Look at that. So
wow.
For this month, my 1,400 views has made $54.03. Don't drop those pennies, because those pennies are important, folks. Those pennies are important. Listen, I'm not doing anything here for big bucks. I'm not doing it for the clicks.
No wonder you keep having shows about Satine and Jameson. You need to get those clicks going.
I need
those guys.
Imagine without them, I'd only have like $47 maybe.
Yeah, those always blow up. So no wonder you keep talking about them, because those just blow up.
Well, blowing might be part of what they do, but
take it down.
What was that, Rachie?
Take it down a notch.
Rachie's like, whoa, you didn't go there. We went there. But
by the way, I enjoyed your show while you read the comments. I know some people thought you were just clickbaiting that, but I enjoyed that show because I don't keep up with that stuff. I don't keep up with those two idiots are doing, and I was kind of surprised. They hadn't filled their 2-year-old Kickstarter. I figured maybe that was something they already did, but
no.
But no,
they
haven't.
2 years late in fulfilling. And that means that they were a year late when they had their staff last year before they did their social media implosion tour. And now that they shot each other respectfully in the foot multiple times, now they're trying to reinvent themselves. They're going to come back. They'll tell you how to do a good business.
Mm-hmm.
If that business is duties. If you're going to make a dookie, they'll tell you how to make a good business.
I wouldn't expect to receive Tail the Bard or whatever the frick it is. I wouldn't. If you're waiting on your next campaign, you're going, man, I really want to run Battle of the Bards. I'd just go ahead and run something. Maybe run one of Gillespie's Mega Dungeons or one of Rob. Go get Rob Conley's Sand Hex Crawl kit, because you're going to get that way before you're ever going to get Battle of the Bards.
By the way, folks, I get to see almost daily updates on what Rob is doing, because he runs it by the gaming group. All right, and he already before the money kicked out from Kickstarter, he's already giving out the codes for the print on demand for the digest size of Black Marsh if you are a backer. So that's Rob takes care of his backers. He takes care of his community. He understands what community is.
This is all already written. He'd already written this thing. He's just collating it, putting it in one coherent book. I mean, he's been doing blog posts on this for a year or 2 years. So yeah, this is all. Look, people like Rob and Greg and other people who have on here, Don, you're going to get your product. It's it's not there's no gamble. There's no Kickstarter doesn't guarantee yada yada yada. No, you don't have to worry about that because it's done. It's finished. Yep. And they just have to, dot the I's and cross the T's, and then you got it in your hands.
Most creators understand that. Most Kickstarter creators, ones that use Kickstarter or crowdfunding, understand it's a responsibility to your backers. Some see their backers as a cash machine that you don't have to pay back. And I'm not going to tell Mike to get a bike route. No.
That's the way Kickstarters used to be run. Hey, I've got a great idea, Eric. I'm going to start a Kickstarter next week, and I'm going to ask for $30,000. And now I haven't written anything yet. That was, you know what, that was not unusual at all. People did that all the time. And then what started happening was people weren't fulfilling Kickstarters because it's a long way from I have an idea to a finished product. It's a long way there. And so those people just kind of got weeded out of the system eventually, because once you start screwing that around like the Wandering Wizard did, you quickly develop a reputation as somebody that's not going to fulfill Kickstarters. And so, yes, you're kind of booted out of the community.
Mr. Gunn wants to know what we think Satine and Jameson. You got to think of the whiskey. Satine and Jameson comeback plan is. Well, I believe that they are trying to pass themselves off as self-help gurus. That's their latest angle that they're working.
Oh, hell no.
I don't know if you heard Rach in the background going, hell no. But
well, I agree, Eric. That's probably the way they're going to go on this one. Yes.
Yeah. Just like, listen, I'm going to mention the boogeyman, Ken Whitman. Just like Ken Whitman had to find a new angle after Kickstarter wasn't going to be it. So then he went to producing movies in Atlanta. And once he burned out that market, he moved to a different market. You have to reinvent yourself if the grift is what you do. And I'm not saying that Kickstarters are grifts. I'm just saying I don't think they're going to be fulfilled in any. If they're already 2 years late on their Kickstarter when they had a staff of 25, now they have a staff of 2.
Yeah, nobody's contributing. All these people that were supposed to write chapters or characters, whatever in their book, they're all gone. So they're not creating all this content themselves. There's no way they're going to do it. They're not going to do any of this content themselves. So without all the people that were contributing stuff, this thing is absolutely dead in the water. If you haven't got your money back from the credit card company yet, I feel bad for you. Unlike Ernie and Benoit, they don't have the money sitting in an account somewhere. No, that money has long been spent on eyeliner, on different kinds of eyeliner, on hair dye, on pointed ears, whatever those guys spend money on, and tattoos. I mean, that money's long been spent. So no, it's that thing's, because if you read back in the Kickstarter, 90% of the Kickstarter was written by contributors. And when you don't pay your contributors, they don't feel obligated to contribute anymore. I know that's weird, Eric. Isn't that odd? That's, if you don't pay people, they won't do work. It's just weird. So they're not, they're not going to just go, well, you know what? We just better nut up here, Phoenix.
No.
And we're going to do it all ourselves. No, they were never going to do it. They were just there to look pretty for the pictures.
Listen, before we can even start working on this, we have to take a good rest for ourselves and enjoy the holidays. And we're gonna go right through Chinese New Year, right from the Thanksgiving, and we're gonna make sure that we're in the best mental health. Take care of ourselves mentally, spiritually, before we put effort into fulfilling our obligations. I'm sorry, and folks, when I was reading those comments, there was a reason why I was reading the comments, because almost universally the comments each comment started or ended with "Take my name off the project." These were backers. These aren't creators. These are people. When you're a backer, you take a little pride in backing a project. You get your name. It's a little vanity thing. These people are like, I don't want my name on this piece of shit. Holy crap. I don't even care if I don't get my money back. Take my name off of this.
Mm-hmm.
And you notice they didn't respond to anybody. Now, who's another person who didn't respond to any Kickstarter backers? And it isn't Gareth, because Gareth would respond and curse people out. We'd have Gareth. Ken responded, but Gareth was like, I don't read Kickstarter backers' comments because they're not polite, and you have to communicate with me on my own forum. Okay, come on, folks.
Yeah, that's not going to. Yeah, so if you haven't gotten your money, if you backed it and you haven't gotten your money back, no. When I look at the future, what they're going to do is look. They're reasonably attractive people who look just kind of. They clean up to where they look kind of weird, wacky, bizarro. Look, there's people that come back from this kind of stuff all the time. Well, look at influencers on Facebook or YouTube. So a lot of these people have more than one failure in the back of their career where they've lost money or dumped money. They just move on to another set of simps and another set of people to be grifted. And so what they'll do is, like Eric said, they're just going to move into another. They're just going to start talking about self-help or look, as long as Satine leaves out the last couple of years of her life, it seems like a pretty good success story. I mean, she was into porn and this and that. Then she started writing and started doing YouTube, and then next thing you know, she's a community director at WotC. I mean, that's a rise from rags to riches. So she could do talks about that for the next 10 years about how she went from doing this to now I'm doing this. And she just leaves out all the stuff about the Kickstarter and she's good. The same with Jameson. You just got to leave out certain parts and then you're okay. You just talk about the parts that were successful. So they'll do okay. They'll just run around doing that for a while. They'll just move out of the gaming arena because that's where people still remember them from. And still blame them for failure. They'll start doing something else. They'll do something not gaming, and then that'll be an entirely new audience that doesn't know what happened with this, and they won't ever talk about it again. And they'll probably do reasonably well selling whatever they sell. Selling pointed ears. I don't know, whatever Satine wants to sell. Selling makeup. She'll do makeup. She'll do a makeup. Look, she does an amazing makeup job on herself. I saw her at a convention once at a gym because she got up in the morning and worked out. And I hate to say this because I used to work out every once in a while. But I'm walking down the hall and I see her walking towards me. She just looks like she doesn't look ugly or anything. It's just that without all the makeup on, she looks really plain. She looks very plain. So she could probably do a whole seminar on how to make yourself look cool. Point the ears up, do the cool makeup, make your eyes look good. I mean, anyway, I'm just giving that as an example that there's all kinds of things they could do besides gaming that they can make money off of. But they're through in the gaming industry. I mean, they're not going to be able to come along. Look, Luke is not having another marriage ceremony for these guys. Okay, it's not happening. Once bitten, twice shy, right? I mean, you're not gonna. Nobody's falling for that. Nobody that was in Gary Con is falling for that business anymore. And so,
right,
nobody the game industry is going to give a
chance. We're going to step in the landmine, and I'm going to actually probably punt the landmine, but I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it. I don't know if you read this one yet.
No.
Do you guys think it is ethical to make a new game that excludes modern things like feminism and minority representation? Seems like it isn't to drive through Kickstarter, etc. I don't know what any of that has to do with making games.
Well, it depends. It depends on what you're making a game for. I mean,
yeah.
Look. If your game is if it's a fantasy game based on a world of Conan, there wasn't feminism or minor. I mean, it just wasn't back. It's part of the whole trope. Look, everything's a trope, right? Or a cliche or whatever you want to call it. But people, when they play a certain genre, they want to play that genre the way the genre's played. So in other words, if they want to play swords and sorcery, that means, scantily clad, princesses being rescued by barbarian. I mean, everything fits into a genre. Now, if you're playing modern games, it would be weird not to have stuff like that because that's the world we live in. That's the world we live in now.
If you're saying equality of roles, certainly, and minority representation, okay. But is it ethical? I don't think it's an ethical thing. I think it's the market will decide. If you leave that out and the market kills you and your product doesn't sell, then you'll know for next time. If it doesn't affect it, then it means that the market isn't paying attention and doesn't care. In the end,
yeah, I mean that's true. The market will decide.
The market will decide. That's what you get with a capitalistic society.
If you're setting it depends. I mean, if you're setting a game, let's say I mean, if you're let's say you want an old West game, it doesn't make any sense to have things like feminism. And minorities were treated horribly during, look at the Chinese, how the Chinese were treated during the building of the railroad. I mean, look how blacks were treated, before, during, and after the Civil War. I mean, yeah, I mean, it would be really, really hard to overlook those things, right, during those time periods. I mean, there was some women that excelled during that period, but if every town you come to as a woman sheriff, it doesn't make any sense. There weren't women sheriffs. I mean, or if there were in such small numbers that it would have been absolutely, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the Netflix show about Bass Reeves, who's awesome dude. By the way, really interesting history there. He was a black bounty hunter, but actually he became the law, which was extremely rare during that time. But it happened. It's a true story. It's awesome, and that's a great story. But it was so exceptional that it just didn't happen a lot. It happened, that's why Bass Reeves is so famous, because he was the exception to the rule.
Right, and it's why the Netflix series is very successful, because it is showing something that was exceptional. I mean, listen, can you work stuff like, listen, if you have an all-male gaming group, you probably don't worry about this stuff. If you have a gaming group that has some women in it, then it becomes something that you will consciously, as a DM, make sure is balanced. But if you're playing with all guys, or if you're playing with all women, right? If you're playing with all women, I'm going to guess that the NPCs are going to be, a majority of them are going to be women for perspective.
I think sometimes it doesn't really matter. I mean, look, if you're playing a fantasy game that has elves, dwarves, gnomes, whatever, what does minority representation hurt? It doesn't hurt anything. You already have all these creatures.
Yeah.
But a lot of it just depends on your own world and what you want to do in your own world. I mean, maybe, I mean, look at like a Lord of the Rings type of world. I mean, it doesn't, nobody says anything about any kind of ethnic or minor representation in the books. I mean, Tolkien never mentions it. So you can imagine whatever you want. If you want to imagine whatever you want, you can. It just, I just don't see it a problem. It depends on what you want to do with your Kickstarter and or GoFundMe or whatever. What you want to do. If you think you can make it work, then go ahead and make it work. But I mean, a lot of people that like historically accurate games it's going to turn them off because they're going to say, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, if you're set, like, let's say you're playing Call of Cthulhu 1920s, right? I don't know if you've ever read. You have the award-winning Harlem something.
Oh, I know what you talk about. Yes,
yeah,
I haven't.
And the game or the scenarios are all about how bad things were in Harlem in the 20s, and and about how bad things were for minorities. I mean, so they didn't try to sugarcoat it and say, no, they're just like everybody else and everything was great and they had a great time. The whole point of the horror is that these people were being treated horribly during this time period. And so by having minority representation, that what's the game called? I can't remember it. It's the Harlem. Oh gosh,
That's not Harlem Unbound, is it? No.
Yeah, I think so. It's Harlem something. Yeah, Harlem Unbound. That's it. Harlem
look
Unbound.
At that! Holy crap! I actually know my stuff.
Yes. Yeah. So there's a whole game and it won numerous awards, and it's all about how things weren't very peachy during that time period for certain minorities. So. Would you rather have the author say, no, I'm going to make this, everything was great, man. It was great during this time and there wasn't any problems at all. No, that's the whole point of being historically accurate in a game like that, is saying, no, things weren't great. That's an odd question, because I just think whatever you want to do with your game, you'll do it. But as Eric said, the market will figure it out. If the market wants a game like that, then people will buy it. And
Yeah.
I'm just like Harlem Unbound. I think it's sold really, really well. It's like in the third or fourth printing. It did really well because that's something that people wanted to read about. It's very interesting. But do people want to read about? I don't know. I'm trying to think of some weird scenario without getting in trouble with our audience. But
we always do that anyway.
I mean, do you want to write a World War II game where there's all women units invaded France? It didn't happen.
No.
It never happened, and it just would be maybe an alternate history world where the men all died of the plague and the women had to fight. I mean, I don't know. Actually, that sounds kind of interesting. I need to write that. Alternate history where men couldn't fight in World War II. That's kind of cool. I'm going to put that in the memory chest. But if you're doing a historically accurate game, it wouldn't make any sense because that didn't happen. So I don't know. That's an odd question. I will say that.
Yeah. Now they were talking about Kickstarter before, going back and forth. Yeah, Kickstarter takes when you look at something and said, "Oh, it funded at $1 million." Kickstarter takes a share. The payment processor takes a cut, and then of course you got to put federal and state taxes aside before you even figure out how you're going to produce everything and then pay yourself. The thing with Kickstarter is that Kickstarter is built-in advertising. It is a marketplace that people go to. Now, the argument that was going on in a chat was, well, Kickstarter is not meant to be a marketplace. It's supposed to be a place where people do their angel funding and they support projects that look fine. That is great. That may have been the initial intention. But when major companies like, I don't know, Frog God, Goodman Games,
Paizo, Goodman, yeah.
When they crowdfund things, so they have an accurate picture of what the market will be for their release.
It's basically for companies like that, it's basically a pre-order system.
Yeah.
This is definitely going to come out. We're just doing a pre-order system because after it comes out, we can still publish more of it if we want to.
Right. Because they're not stuck with a warehouse full of stock.
Yeah.
They actually get an accurate number and then they can do their overage and it's great. And it probably keeps your prices down as a consumer.
Well, you don't have to guess. I mean, let's say you're doing like Rappamathic. How many copies of Rappamathic do I publish? This is a book that's this thick. And it costs $100. What if you're off by 50% on your? What if you're just off by 25%? You're losing sales, right? Or you're either losing sales, or you have a lot of stock sitting there not doing anything. Let's go ahead and do it as a Kickstarter. You have a pre-order system. Okay, you sell 30,000 units or whatever. Now okay, I'm gonna when this comes in, I've already sold 30,000. I can order additional blankety blank and get a discount for doing more, and that's about how much I can sell in the next 5-6 years. And then if that sells, then maybe I'll do a second print.
Right.
It helps you out quite a bit in terms of trying to figure out, like you said, you don't want to order. Believe me, usually what happens is, Eric, you order too much more than not enough.
Oh yeah,
and then it becomes a storage issue then because you're like storing, 5,000 copies of Rappamathic, whatever, and and then you're like, oh my god, when are we going to get rid of these? And you're having to have sales.
We could tell you stories, but we're not. All right, so Mike, we were actually spot on. So thanks for the insight. The Conan thing is what I was thinking about. Whether that should be considered socially acceptable to promote. I've seen some games try to whitewash those settings, so it is a gray area. Yes, it certainly is. And yes, I know of publishers who publish work in that kind of genre and have been pushed back against, but they're true to their source material. And if you're true to your source material, I think that you have an accurate. The game might be new, but if your source material is old, you stay true to your source material. If your source material is a setting that's, I don't know, 100 years in the future, and you suddenly literally whitewash it and make everybody, white Caucasians and everybody is a blonde male, you have the wrong game. Not going to say which game it is that I may have seen a beta copy of, but you have the wrong game.
Well, and you have to think about your audience too. And I think the mistake the Conan people made was that your audience wants a certain something, and by saying we're going to do this instead, I just think you get your audience a bait and switch. You said we're going to have a Conan game, but we're going to have pixies in the Conan game, and the pixies are going to be really helpful, and they're all going to, your barbarian characters are going to sit on your shoulder and tell you, I'm just giving an example of something that doesn't make any sense. And so everybody that's playing the Conan game is going to say there weren't any pixies in Conan. What are you doing? Well, we're trying to make the game so kids will like to play it. And so now there's all these pixie sidekicks that Conan and his friends get. And you're just confusing people, and you're just losing what little audience you already have. And so I guess the problem is why buy. It's like buying Lovecraft. Like, okay, I'm going to buy the Lovecraft property. I want to put out a Call of Cthulhu type game with Lovecraft, but I don't like the part where people go crazy. That's because mental illness is a real problem in society. By the way, I don't know if this really happened. It probably really happened, but I don't know if that's a real crisis society. So we're going to get rid of that mechanic. Oh, actually, this has happened. Oh, so somebody told me. Okay, well, apparently somebody in Lovecraft where you can't go insane anymore. Okay, well, but yeah, I just think that's a bait and switch, because the whole point is you're telling these horrific horror, this cosmic horror that half of Lovecraft stories ended up with a narrator in a padded cell somewhere, writing the story out in his feces on the wall because he's cuckoo nuts. And to get rid of that aspect of it, I think is disservice to the material, Yeah. And so, yeah, I just think that, audiences are very sensitive to those bait and switch tactics like that, and they will just won't buy your product, and they just, they'll just say, well, I want Conan, the kind that Robert E. Howard wrote, or I want Lovecraftian horror like Lovecraft wrote, or let's just say, okay, I want to play a 007 game like Ian Fleming wrote. I don't want one where, you know what I'm saying? You want what you buy. You want to buy. Look, if you want to do, let's say I want a 007 game, but I don't want to make it a male British secret agent. I want to make it like Charlie's Angels. There are these hot chicks that go around karate chopping people. Just make that game. Don't make that game and call it 007. Now it's the chick's turn, or something. I mean, just make that game. Make the game that you want to see. Don't glom onto a popular property and say, "Well, this is the property, but we're going to do it this way," because all you're going to do is piss off the old fans, the ones that like the property, and you're never going to make the new fans happy because they want to see their own property, So,
L, you did not fall asleep waiting. We were live before 8:02, so all due respect, or sorry, read between the lines.
Oh,
I guess I should.
Ouch!
So,
wow.
I gave the finger initially, but I guess I shouldn't have done that. Yes, putting what you need in the wrong game. Now, L, listen, Joe intentionally took a bag of potential shit, placed it on our porch on Friday, lit it on fire, and then yelled fire. All right. So it had the desired results that Joe wanted. I'm not saying it's what I would have planned, but Joe got what he wanted. Am I going to change how I refer to Chicane the Dungeon? No, but I'll be honest with you. Until that show, I didn't really understand what Chicane the Dungeon meant anyway. So now that I've learned what it means, I'm already too far gone to learn a new meaning for it. Just saying. Oh my God, I'm getting behind. What happens is I get behind in the chat, and then I get lost.
So the Marvels. I'm looking. Okay. Oh yeah, you're way behind, dude. You're way up there.
I know.
Yeah.
I feel
no. So Anon says
the Charlie Daniels.
The Marvels is a prime example of how people are tired of force narratives. No, the Marvels is a prime example about how you're not going to make $500 million off of B, C, and D list characters in the Marvel Universe. Look, they made all their money when they had these openings that were opening with $500,000 and $1 billion. The Avengers, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor.
These were all established characters that we grew up on.
Right.
Us in our 50s grew up on, right? These are people that are spending the disposable cash that were willing to see these movies in the theater. Now, two things: COVID and direct to live streaming or getting there in 3 months.
Yeah, a lot of people on the edge of wanting to go see a movie are not going to pay to see that movie when it's on Disney Plus in 2 months. It doesn't make any sense to do that. And especially in the middle of a recession, they're just going to sit there and go, yeah, you know what, the Marvels looks okay, but it's going to be on Disney Plus in 2 months. I'll wait and see it. And the reviews aren't really, they're awesome and the reviews are okay. I'm not, and I think Bob Iger, who is back as president of Disney after being out for a year, and they brought him back because things were going so badly. He put it perfectly when he said it's oversaturation of the market. You have a Disney show coming out you have a Marvel show coming out every month on Disney Plus. You have a movie coming out every 6 months. You know what? Do you know there's only okay. I'll give you a test here, Eric. There is one Marvel movie coming out next year. Do you know who the featured person is in that Marvel movie?
Iron Man.
There's one.
Iron Man?
Nope.
I thought they'll bring back Iron Man. All right, hold on a second. Not Doctor Strange, because he already had his.
No, he already had his.
And it's not the Ant-Man and the Wasp, because they were bullshit characters in the comics.
I'll give you a hint. This character was not part of the MCU before a couple of years ago when the rights were sold to the MCU. Now this character is now a part of the MCU.
Spider-Man.
No, that was but that was one. It's Deadpool. Deadpool is coming out next year. That is the only Marvel movie coming out next year.
All right, so wait a second. But now are they going to? Is Deadpool going to be really good? Oh, now I could just move my mouth and pretend to be talking and let Mike think that I'm talking, and I won't be talking.
No, I can hear you now. I can hear you.
Okay. So is Deadpool going to be
with by the way, with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, because now they have the rights to Wolverine too, are also. And so but the point being is they have yanked all their movies off the schedule now. All the movies they're working on, the new Captain America, Blade, I don't know, 4 or 5 movies. They've yanked them all because they're sitting there because Bob Iger's right. It's oversaturation of the market, and nobody wants to see these B and C and D level characters. And honestly, if you're making a movie that's only going to make back about $100 million, your movie shouldn't cost $200 million to make. You should cool it on the CGI and say, look, we're going to make a movie. We think it's going to I know Avengers made $500 million, but we think this movie, how much did the Marvels make the first weekend? Like 40 million. Barely anything. And so then in that case, you don't spend $200 million on the movie. Now I think Deadpool will do good because so far the last 2 Deadpools have done great. And plus with Wolverine in it, oh my God, it's going to be crazy. But that's the only movie. That's the only movie planned next year. That is the one Marvel movie because they have realized they've oversaturated the market. They're not going to have all these movies one a month or whatever.
10 comic books come out a week. Why is that market not saturated? It is not the market.
It is. Well, that market's not making 1 cent, Colonel. Yeah. It's comics have lost money continuously for the last decade. They've just lost. The only thing keeping Marvel and DC Studios open are the movies. That is the only thing. If they were just selling comic books and nothing else, they'd both be out of business right now. The movies are kicking back a percentage to the MCU and to the DC universe. If it wasn't for that, they'd be out of business. Nobody. But back when Eric and I were kids, comics would have print runs of 300,000, 500,000, sometimes 1 million. I remember the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man had 1 million. The
Oh,
Jim Lee X-Men was $1 million.
The Spider-Man with the multiple covers.
Yeah.
Man number one.
And they would do like 300,000 to 500,000. You know what a good monthly thing nowadays is if you make 40,000, if you make 100,000, that is the best comic that you've sold more comics than any comic that year. That used to be cancellation numbers 30 years ago, Eric. I mean, if you made it 100,000, they're like, "Ooh, you're right on the edge of being canceled, man." But nowadays, for various reasons, many reasons, nobody's reading comics anymore. You know, first of all, the art and the stories are terrible, but they're just not reading them anymore. So no, that market's not doing any good either. That market's terrible. Now, I tell you what they'll do. What'll bring the Marvel Universe back is when they bring the X-Men back, which they now own the rights. MCU now owns the rights to the X-Men and Fantastic Four. They bought those from can't remember who owned them. Whoever owned them, all those Fox. They bought them from Fox. So yeah, when they come up with X-Men a few years ago, that's something that people want to see, Eric. They want to see X-Men. They love X-Men. Like, oh my gosh, X-Men are awesome. You know what they don't want to see? They don't want to see Carol Danvers and Junior Marvel and Marvel Girl. They just don't care that much. But those are smaller properties. You make a smaller movie out of that. You spend $50 million, $100 million. That's all you spend.
It's like Shazam on the DC side. You're not going to get the number of people watching it that you're going to get for Superman or Batman. You know, you gotta. There's a reason why with DC's, you know, you had the Superman versus Batman. It all had to like highlight those two main characters. Wonder Woman, successful, but I mean, DC stuff was never successful as the Marvel movies. And the Marvel movies, they got their heads swollen thinking
they thought that they could throw any B-list character out there, and they would, because look, the last two or three movies they made were made over $1 billion. I mean, we're breaking not just breaking superhero records, breaking like all-time movie records, like the top 10 of all time, like Avatar. They're up there with the big ones. And they just you're right, they got too full of themselves. I thought, you know what? We just throw any B-level character up there. I mean, the last movie, what they do is they killed off Iron Man. Captain America got old and he doesn't do anything anymore. They made Thor into a joke. He's like a wacky joke now. And so they took away all the core characters and like, yeah, we'll just start over again with some new characters. Well, guess what? People not really digging it, man. They're just not feeling it. You know, I mean, they're like, oh, Shang-Chi, that was awesome. You know, that made like, I don't know, $70 million, but that's a B-list character, C-list character. You know, I mean, Doctor Strange is cool. I love Doctor Strange. He's not A-list. He's B-list. You know, I mean, a lot of those characters, all the more recent movies, they just don't have any A-list characters in there. Yeah. So, that's more the Marvel's failure, I think, than anything. It's just the fact that they're spending too much money on characters that nobody is really that excited about seeing. I mean, I'm not excited about it. I mean, I'm the biggest comic book fan you'll ever find. I own, 15,000 comic books are in my garage. But I'm not going to run out and see the Marvels. I went and saw Guardians of the Galaxy because they're funny and they're good movies, and there was a third in a series. It was good. It was good, but I just cared about that. I don't care about this other stuff. I saw the last Spider-Man. It was really good. It was with the three Spider-Man, the Spider-Man, all the different worlds came together. That was awesome, But you got to do more than just throw up a character in spandex and say, "Here you go, Mike. Here's your new character. You got to care a lot about." I'm like, not really. I'm not really interested.
By the way, folks, I think there's a week left in 2 days. 2 days left. Sorry, 2 days left. In Rob Conley's How to Build a Fantasy Sandbox Kickstarter. Link is going to be in our chat. For Rob's broke. I think he's at, what is he? 13,000 maybe. I mean,
that's nice.
13,000. I like to see him at 15, but man, Rob prices things at an affordable price.
He does.
He gives back to the community. Rob is just such a good person.
Now, Peter
Although he
Pham says
closed the game last night, but
Peter Pham says you can have a great movie with B and C list characters. That's what the Guardians of the Galaxy were. Those were way down the list characters. I mean, those were B and C list characters. But Gunn, he likes the material. You can tell. Look, I don't agree with everything he does, but he's a creator that enjoys the material and likes comics and likes superheroes, and that shows in all the movies he makes. And so,
he assembled
Guardians of the Galaxy was great.
A talented group.
Yeah, look at that cast. Look at those actors in that cast. Those are all awesome people. I mean, everybody in there. You got, you have even the voice work, the Ryan Reynolds. I mean, yes, that is a great group of characters, great actors, and there was a good look. This was a good script. The Guardians of the Galaxy, all three movies were great. They had really, really great scripts, and so that stuff is going to do good. It's when and so they care about the movie, and I'm not saying the people who made Marvels didn't care. It's just that unfortunately nobody else cared. Nobody watching it was really that interested. I mean, there's probably a lot of young girls out there thought that was awesome, but that's just not your core audience. I don't think that's a part of your audience, but it's not a core audience. But see, the whole thing is Hollywood makes a lot of stuff that they think you want to see, that you really don't want to see. That happens a lot, and
then they get upset with you. I made this for you. You didn't want to see it. It's your fault. You should have wanted to see it. No, I didn't like what I saw.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand. I understand why they don't look at what people really want, but apparently it's this really weird process in Hollywood. If you talk to people that actually work in it and know people, it's just weird how they do things. It's like, so one of the things HBO does is when people, let's say I have this HBO drama, and I've read stories about this. This is true. The first season or two, they want you to put a lot of nudity in it, but my story doesn't have any nudity. We don't care. Lots of nudity because it will bring people in. Game of Thrones, first two seasons, nude. Everybody had their clothes off. Everybody was having sex. Guess what? After season 3, nobody was nude anymore because they didn't care. They didn't need to get those numbers up. They didn't need to have nudity, but they made them put all this really unnecessary, ridiculous nudity in the first couple of seasons because everybody wanted it. And that's the way, or I say everybody, I say the people that worked in HBO. If you look at any of their shows, that's exactly how they roll. First 2 seasons, tons of nudity. After that, it's doing okay. Nah, you don't need to put any nudity in anymore. We're okay. We're doing good. So that's just part of Hollywood, man. They're gonna ask you to put all this unnecessary bullshit in there because they want you to, because they think they need it. That's all they know. That's the only way they know how to make movies and make TV shows anymore. Nudity. But you know what? I think Disney might have learned its lesson. Their stock is at a record low. They're bleeding money out of every orifice. I mean, every orifice. And they're kind of like Hasbro. Where Hasbro was going to triple its money. What was the Hasbro plan? They're under monetized. We're going to do this and that. We're going to double our money, profit. We're just going to profit. We don't know how it's going to happen. And so, yeah, Disney's having the same issues that Hasbro has. Hasbro thought we wanted all these things.
Yep.
Well, we think they want this, and this. No. Nobody asked anybody if they wanted this VTTs and no OGL and whatever. And they just thought, well, although I think in Hasbro's case, they didn't care what we wanted.
No, they didn't care. They
didn't care.
It's going to make us money.
They
have no other option. They got to come through us. All your games come through us. So,
well, the thing is, people have said they stopped watching HBO. Just wait till season 3 and there's no more nudity because then they've already got you. I mean, I had people that complained about that. Like, I don't get it, man. Fill in the blank actress was nude the first 2 seasons, and now she's not nude because they don't have to anymore. They've already got you. They threw the nudity in there to get you excited and interested in it. And now that the show's has 80 million viewers, they don't care anymore. They're not going to put nudity in there. Sorry, man. That's how HBO works. Cinemax does the same thing too.
Yes.
But they always the Paramount doesn't do that, which I appreciate. Paramount's a little classier. Some of the other Hulu's probably a little classier. Some of the other networks are a little classier. Netflix is classier. Netflix has plenty of shows without any nudity in them. So, matter of fact, we're watching. What are we watching? That's Prime. We're watching the new Bosch series. That's on Prime.
Oh.
I haven't seen it. There's no nudity in that. So.
Yeah, I got to catch up on that one.
Oh, dude! So yeah, you got all the Bosches, and then at the last season he quits the police force and he goes private. So the next 2 seasons are he's a private eye. So we just got through.
Okay.
Yeah, so now we're on season 2 of that, and we're in season 2 of him just being a private eye. He's an ex-cop. That's like you, Eric. You should be an ex-cop private eye like Bosch.
No thanks.
You know. He still shoots people. He shoots people and kills them and beats people up. But now he's doing it, on the other side of the law. He's not doing it in the law on his side.
She doesn't have immunity.
No. Yeah, so it's like when he kills a female assassin last season, he just has to hide her body somewhere. Like you've probably done many times when you've killed assassins.
Oh yeah, so many assassins come from me. You would not believe how many assassins. I count to 3 assassins.
And he just has to hide the body because he can't just say, "Look, I'm a cop. I had to shoot this assassin." It's like I had to shoot this assassin. So anyway, but no, I kid, but no, I think I've told you about this before. Michael Connelly's an incredible writer. Used to be a crime journalist. He's written about 50 books about this guy Bosch. I mean, just great police procedurals. Just really exciting, great plots. I mean, it's good stuff. And the characters a great character. Harry Bosch is just an amazing character. It's the first, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 seasons are all based on the books that Michael Connelly wrote. So good stuff, really good stuff.
Wow.
He's the kind of cop that we all like because he just wants the truth, man. He doesn't care where it leads him. And his motto is, either the law is for everybody or it's for nobody. You just got to go where the evidence leads you. He doesn't care who you arrest. He's going to get you. He's not cutting any deals, man. You're going to jail. Right. So yeah, that's so wild. People do that. I've seen people do that. I think maybe that's the future. Is where you sign up, you binge, and then you cancel. I know people that did that for Star Trek when it came. Remember when it came out on was it CBS?
CBS.
They would do the free thing. They would get it for like a week or 2 weeks. They just binge and watch the entire season of Star Trek, and then boop, cancel, out.
Wow, we've.
Oh man, I hate when they say my folks love Bosch. How old do they think we are, Eric? 80? I mean, come on.
When I was a kid, I used to watch SWAT.
It's just a good show. Yes, the actors they're kind of older. Okay, they are older.
Emergency and Adam 12. Adam 12 was the shit.
Yep, and they came on Friday night because they knew their audience. It was kids being babysitted while their mom and dad were out getting drinky poos. The kids were watching Emergency and 1 Adam 12, man.
1 Adam 12, 1 Adam 12. Please see it. I was like, oh, cool.
Steve the Man, Hollywood and Vine.
It's Emergency, and for some reason they always have a doctor on the line.
Well, because remember that was the plot of Emergency is that they had a direct like ham radio or whatever to the hospital or shortwave, whatever they had. It was considered new and cutting edge, Eric, that they actually talked to the doctor during the time when they were there. So
this is what we grew up on. Okay?
As a matter of fact, the story was about Emergency was they had kind of bad ratings for a few years, and the network executives were afraid to cancel it because they knew so many parents and their children watched together. They knew that it would be so much outrage. They let it roll for like 2 seasons past what it should have been canceled.
Really?
Yeah, they were just like, man, the outrage is going to be crazy because because everybody, all these parents and kids, but that's not the demographic they want, right? They want the demographics, the key demographics, 20 to 40-year-olds or whatever. So yeah, if you're older, they don't really care. They don't not interested.
Wow. Well, for an episode that we were light on content, we went heavy on content.
We answered a lot of life's questions.
Yes. We really should just do an episode where we'll prep you. We'll let you know like a week or two ahead.
Give us your questions. Anything about gaming, we'll answer. Unless it's too difficult, then we'll just skip it. Oh, then came Chips. Yeah, you're right. Chips after Emergency, then Chips was the show that babysitters would turn on for their kids.
Yeah, I didn't like Chips that much. Chips was kind of
because we were too old. We'd already aged out of the demographic by then. Yeah.
Yeah. By then, I was watching. What's the other? Oh God. Oh, let's be careful out there. The one.
Hill Street Blues. Hill Street Blues. Oh, I love that show.
That was me during high school.
Oh my gosh, I love that show.
I think they showed the counselor's ass.
Hey, you want to know what? You want to hear an interesting tidbit about Hill Street Blues?
Sure.
So it came out the season. So this show won like, I don't know, dozens of awards during its time.
Right.
It was just, it's about this. It never said what city it was. It was probably either Detroit or Chicago. And it was police force and all the talk about what was going on there. There's all these plot lines, blah, yada, yada. The first season, it had horrible ratings. Horrible. Like nowadays, it would have been canceled after week 3. They would have written it off, said it's gone, whatever.
Right.
And they just stuck with it through the first season. It got its audience, and then it became one of the highest rated shows the next 5 or 6 years. But they would never do that nowadays. It would just be, if you got the ratings it got in the first season, it would be gone. That they would not keep a show with that low of ratings around, unless it was Rings of Power. But
they already paid for it, so you had to keep
unless they paid $8 billion for Rings of Power, then they don't really care what the ratings are because they're just going to show that forever and ever. Rings of Power.
Is the OSR hoarders over gamers? I have no idea what that question there is. There's no OSR.
No, there's plenty of people that game with the OSR. It's not. Oh, Magnum PI was great too. Golly, boy, we spurred some discussion. Let's just talk. We're just going to talk old TV shows from now on and get a gigantic Q rating. People are like, oh my god!
The original Hawaii Five-0 I used to watch when I was working at a department store in an electronics department. We were only allowed to have one TV channel on all the TV sets, and it was whatever my head of sales wanted. And when Hawaii Five-0 was on, Hawaii Five-0 was like you could get a seizure looking at all these TV sets along the wall playing Hawaii Five-0.
I'm going to throw out a controversial opinion here. The remake of Hawaii Five-0, not bad.
Really,
I'm going to say it, not bad. Starring James Caan's son and the other big ass tough guy, good looking dude. Not bad. I liked it. Now I stopped watching about 3 or 4 seasons in, but I was generally entertained by it.
Did they ever say book him, Dano?
Yep, that is a joke. But because they knew it was a joke. They said it a couple times as a total joke. So,
Get Smart and Mission Impossible were on repeats when I was watching. Space 1999 was awesome, and I had the Space 1999 shuttle ship, whatever, where the front part would come off. You could put the boosters on the back.
And that show made no sense. The moon gets. It doesn't.
It doesn't have to make sense. I was a kid.
It made no sense. The moon explosion. The moon's flying out there, and that doesn't.
I threw my shuttle, which these things were large, by the way, and I threw it off the back porch into a snowbank, but I didn't realize the snowbank turned into ice.
No!
And then I had a multiple piece of shuttle. But it was
that probably should have happened to the real shuttle Space 1999, but
perhaps.
Okay, Okay, RPG Grandma, quit reading off the TV guide of all shows in 1976 because that's all you're doing now. That's all you're doing is reading every show that came out in the 70s. By the way, which I love. I love everyone you're naming too. But
Rockin' and Tubbs though was what, like 80s, right?
oh
like
yeah, that was My Advice was the 80s TV show right there. That you sum up the 80s in one TV show, Miami Vice. That's what it was.
My department manager when I worked in electronics suggested I start growing my beard in at that very like that 24-hour stubble look.
I'll tell you how much it was part of our lives. So I believe Miami Vice came on Friday nights back when we were back in the 80s. We would watch Miami Vice, then go to the club. We would not go to the club until we already watched the episode of Miami Vice. So we wouldn't go to the club till 9 or 10 o'clock, which you don't usually go to clubs till 9 or 10 o'clock anyway, right? So we would watch every week's episode of Miami Vice, then go clubbing. We would not miss Miami Vice. We had
Simon. Oh my God. You're making me have memories. Hard Counsel and McCormick. I hate to admit that I watched that.
Remington Steele was the show that kept poor Pierce Brosnan from becoming 007 until after Timothy Dalton. He was in line to do it, and then they got renewed for another season. He lost out to Timothy Dalton, but he eventually got it. He eventually got to be 007, which is good.
It all worked out.
So the story had a happy ending. Happy ending. Oh man.
Yeah, MASH was a great show, but Major Houlihan never had the right hairstyle for the time. She always had her 70s hairstyle.
I just like it that that show lasted longer than the Korean War did, which is hilarious. It lasted, 10 seasons.
Another Christmas. Yeah, another Christmas. It lasted
longer than the Korean War.
Yes.
Oh, okay. We're not going to do. Okay, we're not going to answer TV show questions that are because all you guys would do is bombard us with TV show questions. Believe me, we can talk about TV shows too.
All right, but we will plan this out. It'll be one of December.
You know what, Eric? We're within sight of the end of the year. You know that, right?
Yeah, no. I got to do what's our Christmas. I got to organize what's our Christmas.
Oh my gosh, where's my calendar? Oh dear. Oh yeah, we're down. Oh goodness gracious. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh gosh, only 7 more weeks. 7 more weeks of the year. How did that happen? How did that happen?
So we will have an Ask Us Anything About RPGs episode.
Yes.
Have your questions ready.
Not MASH episodes.
Yeah, not MASH episodes.
Nope.
Not my recipes for local.
Not our favorite Hill Street Blues character. None of that stuff. No.
But we will.
Not which G.I. Joe we like the best.
Oh, I like the one that always had his hair fall out when I put him in the pool. Because he didn't have the painted hair, he had the stubble hair.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah. The glue was not very good in those because you put their wetsuit on, you go in the bathtub, and you get them out, and their hair got all patchy.
Yeah.
And then one of them we tried to shave to make it look good. It didn't make it look better, Eric. It looked worse.
Here's the thing. You were a child of the 60s, the 70s, the early 80s. When you say, well, my G.I. Joe has radiation poisoning, and that's why his hair fell out.
He had lifelike hair.
No, you didn't have – it was – he was a soldier exposed to radiation. That was the world we lived in.
That's a pretty good that makes sense now. That makes sense because, yes.
So,
no,
all right.
New Hawaii Wi-Fi was good. Sorry. It wasn't bad.
We're going to wrap this up. Thank you all. I don't know if we have any special guests yet for next week, but we'll give you.
In fact, we don't have anybody scheduled the rest of the year. We need to get our butts in gear and start lining up people for the next 7 weeks because I have nobody lined up. I was hoping we would get some people based on some things that were happening, but these things aren't happening yet. So, unfortunately, things aren't coming out like they're supposed to be coming out.
Things move slowly in the real world.
Well, I mean, Whispering Venom was supposed to be out like a month ago, and that would have been great to have Zach on. But we had Zach and Skeeter on last week. But there's some things that haven't come out yet. I was hoping to have Kelsey on when Shadow Dart came out, but that's still not out yet. So
Still a little delayed. So we're working gun things. We're like the Kickstarters. We're going to be late, but we're always on time, sort of.
we'll find some suckers to come on the show.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We always know somebody. We know somebody. Somebody will fall off a truck and suddenly appear on the show.
Something will happen. Something will be public. Yeah. Somebody will come up with a last minute Kickstarter this year.
So we'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. Again, lively chat. You kept me very busy, and here I am, the Poconos, and I'm on my laptop. I finally learned how to get my iPad hooked up wirelessly to my laptop.
Nice.
Sidecar. So I can. I was like, that works out pretty well. It's not too shabby. So, good folks, as always, be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. Roll them well. I'll be back again tomorrow. If you're looking for the Discord to hang out, probably. I don't know. When I'm up in the Poconos, it's always a crap shot. See how our day goes, whether I get back in time. Other than that, thank you all. Next live stream will be this Friday. Wow, Glenn already. Holy crap. Glenn and myself.
Yes. Later.
All right, folks. Catch you later.